Let's see what's going on here. Let's go. Repeat.
LimeVibe พร้อมและ Lime พร้อมและ Vibe LimeVibe พร้อมและ Lime พร้อมและ Vibe LimeVibe โอ้ LimeVibe.
Good night, everybody, and welcome once again to the LimeVibe podcast. I am your host, Yori Araman Kemp. You're the great one, and I'm here sharing this podium, this platform with the inimitable Miss Kimberly Ramkalawan. How are you, Kimberly? How's things going tonight?
Such big words to describe simple old me right here in Trinidad.
The wonderful and the
Hi,
beautiful and the
everyone.
effervescent Kimberly Ramkalawan. Thank you, Kimberly, for joining us again. So before we get into it tonight, I just want to give our viewers a little heads up, okay? We having my Zoom features is glitching, so you may have a glitch in the system in the video, but please, once you can hear me, it's still good. Okay, once you can still have the audio, it's still good. Kimberly's working fine, but I'm having a glitch here on my end with the Zoom, so bear with us tonight, and we're gonna make it through. Okay, so Kim, how's things going in your neck of the woods?
How can I say? We have a lot of things. As I say, in Trinidad, we don't have a dull day here. There's always something happening in the news. Last night, we had a marathon session in the Senate to pass the firearm users license bill, which is the firearms amendments bill in the upper house, which is our Senate. They went for more than close to 12 hours. They've wrapped up probably around 1 a.m. Passing the bill. A lot of concerns were raised with the change of the bill. They wanted to change the bill to insert the minister and remove the powers of the president when it came to granting licenses. The aim of the bill, in these amendments that they had put forward, was really to give jurisdiction to the prisons officers to get firearms, because they've been under threat lately. A lot of hits are being called at their lives. They're innocent men, but because you're working in the prisons, you're at risk. You know, you're not adhering to what they want, their bullying tactics while they're working there. And I think they want to make sure that the officers are armed and able to defend themselves.
Yes. That's so important, because we keep forgetting that prison officers are part of the armed services as well, aren't they? So they need to be protected. And you know, the prison is a dangerous place. It's filled with criminals. That should go without saying, right? So they must be protected. But while the prison officers in Trinidad are getting hits, our Prime Minister Philip Davis, he had a threat in his life 2 days ago. Someone called his office and threatened his life. So it's getting dangerous out here for politicians, man, and for people who are in the limelight and who have to deal with, you know, some of the most unsavory type characters on a daily basis.
Is that,
of course,
that's happening in the Bahamas?
Yeah. That's how it is, you know. And the prime minister shouldn't have to undergo that kind of threat to his life, because he's only serving his country, right? But at the same time as well, you know, it's a part of the territory, and people are going to get upset when they aren't getting their way, and they don't understand that we need the democratic process, you know, to be followed through. So, but other than that, Kim, let's not start off on a bleak night. So let's get back to what we want to talk. We're going to talk about Usain Bolt tonight, aren't we? We're going to talk about Usain Bolt and how he's ripped off.
That's one area we haven't touched in a while, you know.
Yeah. The sprinter Usain Bolt was ripped off $12.8 million from his fund his bank accounts by his investment manager, and they're trying to scale it back right now. So I mean, Kim, so what happened with Bolt, man?
I can't say. I mean, when we're looking at, he went through the Stocks and Securities Limited for his investment, and this week I think the Jamaican Stock Exchange had to put out a notice that online trading was suspended, and anything that had to be done with them had to go through directly with the SSL Limited. You know, all transactions that had to be processed had to, you know, they told them go directly with them. But it's, I think he gave them a 10-day ultimatum. And
yeah, Bolt wants his money.
there's a lot of questions as to what happened with management there, what allowed this, where are their checks and balances. They even went after Zachary Harding, who was a former, I think he was a former director with the SSL. He says he didn't even know that Bolt was a client.
Wow.
You know, and he said during his tenure, I don't think Bolt was a client. So, you know, we have to wait and see what's going to happen with the financial investigation, what results it yields, and what they're going to see, you know.
Yeah. Apparently there's only $12,000 left out of 12.8 million.
Yeah.
And his lawyer said, his lawyer, Linton P. Gordon, from what I'm seeing here, Linton P. Gordon, his lawyer said this was a part of Bolt's retirement and lifetime savings. So
he's quite a philanthropist. I mean, in Jamaica, he does a lot. And there was even a word that the person that got him in trouble asked him to help bail out the.
Yes. Yes. I heard that. But Bolt's worth $90 million. That's his net worth is $90 million. So I guess $12.8 million, while it's not a small sum, he still should have some money left over.
I mean, he is worth a lot on his own with his name standing, despite he's retired now. I know when it comes to branding and people looking to brand him, he was doing quite a good bit of ads in the United States.
Yeah.
He has a good way to go. I mean, his career is not over when it comes to his career it's taking a different trajectory as a sportsman. He may not be in the athletic fields in such a way, you know, competing, but I'm sure that he's going to, you know, take his career. Most sportsmen usually go into broadcast or either coaching and then brand sponsorship and things like that. We're just advertising your name. Brand association helps, and I'm sure he's going to recover. It's not all lost for Bolt.
No, it's not all lost. No,
but
that's
it's
right.
still
That's right.
quite a good bit of his hard-earned money. When you think of US, it's not Jamaican dollars, it's US.
Yes.
12.5 million, you know.
Wow. And Jamaica was, they just opened up a new investment firm in Jamaica. I'm trying to find the name right now. It's not Proven Wealth. Proven Wealth's been doing some business in the Bahamas. And from what I understood, Jamaica's been trying to make some progress in the investment management field. And they're trying to bolster up their financial services bona fides, so to speak. And so to have this now come with that clients can't keep their money safe in Jamaica really puts a blow, really puts us a step back. And I wonder what the financial services authorities have to say about it.
We're hearing, I'm not hearing so much as to what is being said. I think they're waiting to see what the investigation shows up, you know. And I'm hearing, you know, the fraud squad of Jamaica, they while they're leading the investigation, they haven't sought to comment openly. I'm not too sure.
Yeah. Wow, that's powerful, Bolt, man. That's powerful. Does he still live in Jamaica? Oh, you don't know? He still lives in Jamaica, right?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Because usually these guys move to Miami, they move to Florida, Upper Florida, something like that, you know, just to, you know, keep their tabs in the United States.
Moved to California. I'm not sure if he was in LA.
California, okay. Cali, yeah, you know. But I wonder what this is say for the other athletes like Shelly Ann Fraser Price and Elaine Thompson Hera. You think their money is safe?
What they would have done with their monies, and that's the crux of the matter there.
Yeah. Wow, that's a shame. So has anybody been able to locate this guy yet? This investment manager?
I think they've been speaking with them. They've said, I think they searched some of the premises that belong to some of the employees. You know, the Jamaican constabulary, the force, the Financial Investigation Division, they would have clamped down there.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure if they have found her and who else is there. So what's going on there?
Yeah.
He
What
had
a
a
shame.
press conference sometime last week when the rumors had broken, talking about the fraud and what it means.
Mm.
And he did that press conference in Jamaica actually.
Okay. Yeah. Because that's essentially where all the money is, right? Where his investment was.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, these thieves, man. And people didn't even realize that he had an account with the company as well. That sounded like he was ripped off as soon as he walked in the door.
Well, Zachary Harding, Zachary said he was not aware. They had gone to him to just find out a bit about the operational processes that SSL was involved in, and what checks and balances they had that would have probably led to this, and just to gauge how far this fraud went, prior to Bolt being an investor client there. But Harding was not able to give any answers there.
Oh boy, what a shame!
But Jamaica is one of the Caribbean nations. We're seeing a lot of people investing and putting their money. I think whatever Holness is doing with his economy. When they at the start of the year they had that investment forum where they had invited foreign investors, and they had pledged they had called for like $1 billion. What was the finance minister had called?
That's Nigel. Yeah.
Nigel Clark had
Nigel
called
Clark. Yeah.
invited investors. Okay, we're going to ask you all to come forward with $1 billion, $1 billion project. And that was their way of saying, okay, if you invest $1 billion here in Jamaica, you're gonna benefit from a suite of incentives. I think they had said that when there was an Invest Jamaica forum that was. It feels just like yesterday, but I know it was coming to the new of last year.
No, wait, is that $1 billion in US or $1 billion in Jamaican money?
Yes, US
US, wow.
That was the price tag they had put, to access the country's resources. But what they're looking at though is more private public partnerships, and they want Jamaica has been spearheading this thing where private sector is taking over their public sector services, and you see, I think that's under Holness, he has been championing that a little more.
Oh, something with that, Kim, I'm not sure if that's the right strategy they should take, because there's the reason why the public authorities is so they could keep everyone at bay and so they can have a regulatory oversight. When you start to let the private sector run some of these public corporations, these public services, it always ends up, skewed and messed up. Don't you? What's your take on it, man?
I actually think it is the secret to the thing to really governing your country, providing efficient services for your people. Because when the public sector gets involved, it increases public debt. And this is what governments need to stay away from, is their debt. When you're spending so much on public transportation, you're spending so much on infrastructure, you're spending a lot on electricity and things like that, and you're subsidizing it. It puts the burden on the government. Now, if it's private sector, now I know the citizen, sometimes they pay the brunt, they pay it, but they're getting efficient service. And you have to balance the pros and cons there. What is it you really want for your country? That's maybe I'm listening to these conferences a little too much. And
you're drinking the Kool-Aid, man. I think because I think some of these things only the government can do. I mean, you would only want the government to do, because take for example with water. Would you want there to be like a bidding war on water, and there's no particular backstop where people can get water for when they want it for free? I think that at the end of the day, while it's an admirable thing,
I think that's when there's a monopoly. Now, if you were to have a few investors come in, or a consortium that has to
Mhm.
balance it out for all the players. And I think when they look at doing these public-private sector partnerships, it's more than likely in a consortium that ensures that all the players they get their fair share.
Mm. I think Obama put it, former President Barack Obama put it properly. You know, the private sector operates for profit, and the government works for, and the public sector works for the people. And I think that's where the line should be drawn. Some things maybe I'm just old school, right? And I'm for the private sector actually, but some things I really could understand the government should have a first and primary role in handling. You know, some things like security, things is like essential services like water, maybe not transportation, but things like water, electricity. The government should have a backbone and a backstop and all these things, because you wouldn't want in the private sector's hand, because they would only, you know, run it for profit and then, you know, exclude certain people. That's my take. Because I wouldn't want to be about electricity because I can't go speak to the director of the electrical company, you know. And that's one of the benefits we have for living in a small country like the Bahamas and these Caribbean nations, because we could go to the director, we could go to somebody, we say,
Y'all
hey,
can go
you
to
know, give me a blind.
BPL and tell them something.
Yeah, give me a blind today, you know, I'm trying to do something, give me a blind until I get my money straight, you know. But you can't do it with the private sector all the time. And then, you know, for example, I mean, like the private sector, they run for profit, which is understandable. But at the end of the day, some things you can't run a government like a private sector all the time, because, you know, the government runs for people. You know, that's just my take. But I wish them all the best with that. But I just wanted to be careful on that. Be careful on that, because it's not going to work out the way you think it's going to work out. We see all these models with the IDB and the IMF, and they say, oh no, you should privatize all this stuff. But at the end of the day, they don't tell you all the pains that comes with privatization straight across the board. And some things really should be just for the government. Anyway, I think the Jamaican Financial Services Group, this asset management, I think you wrote the story for Caribbean Magazine Plus, Kim. It was this Qantas Financial Group. They were team, asset management. Yeah. And that's why I said Jamaica was making some strides in the financial services sector. You know, then to have this pop up now with, you know, Usain Bolt losing his money, that's just a black eye. You know, as if they don't have enough problems with things like the EU and the CFATF and the FATF. You know, we don't need this kind of black eye. You could imagine that. Can you imagine something like that? They're just now trying to make strides and opening up their financial services sector and becoming a leader in financial services in the region, which they haven't been known for, to be honest with you. It's been basically a Cayman and the Bahamas and the British Virgin Islands kind of thing where we lead financial services. So Jamaica now stepping forward with financial services, it was like, oh, that's a brand new thing. You know, we don't know them for that. But now to have this black eye with Usain Bolt, it just sets them back tremendously, man.
But you look at the
you live and you learn.
I mean, they've been around since 1973, I think.
Yeah.
And so they seem to be a trusted, reputable firm.
Yeah.
So you've got to look at their staff and their management, and what fiscal institutions there is in the Jamaican constitution that regulates these things. I mean, in Trinidad, we've got the Securities Exchange Commission here that analyzes these things, that, you know, keeps you in checks and balances to make sure so much shares is not sold with, you know, internal partners and things like that. In the moving around of funds, you have to account for every single cent here. And I'm not sure as to what is the financial systems in place to ensure these things don't happen in Jamaica.
Yeah.
I know you're the economist, so you should be able to put a finger there.
Yeah, I should be able to research that. But we weren't prepared to talk about this tonight. But I guess we come back on Friday and we could shed some light on the Jamaican financial services sector. That would be good. I think it should have the same thing with every other, you know, colony, former British colony should have a Securities Commission, a Financial Services Board, perhaps maybe, you know, so the Securities Commission, Financial Services Board, you know, things of that nature. And the central bank should play a primary role in regulating some of the financial transactions. So, you know, standard thing for all the former British Commonwealth countries, or the current British Commonwealth countries.
What else has happened today in Jamaica? There was this conference also that was inviting investors from Africa.
Yeah, yeah.
Cross, it's being hosted by the PJ Patterson Institute for Africa and Caribbean Advocacy. So
Mm.
it was interesting to see them uh, extend that olive branch, just like what Myanmar Motley was trying to do with the African, Caribbean, Pacific countries.
Do you think Jamaica was just, sorry, Kim, you think Jamaica was just jealous of Barbados because Barbados did it first?
No, I don't think so, because PJ Patterson actually started this trade with Africa some time ago, and he has the institute named after him, you know.
Yes, yes.
So it was no surprise with Sierra Leone. It's because of their history with Sierra Leone. I think most of the slaves their descendants would have come from there, and they were just trying to bridge that gap, bring that connection there, because they've got they said that there's more similarities, and it was about time that they came together, be part of it. I mean, obviously you're going to ride the momentum that Mia started in Barbados last year.
Yes, yes. Which I thought was which I still think is kind of a foolhardy mistake. But if they want to go that route, that's fine. I'm saying that perhaps they may be disappointed when they found that the African brothers and sisters may not be as keen on this partnership as what they thought they should. But they have the Minister for Youth, Minister for Cultural Affairs, this Minatu Pratt, and she spoke at the event today, and she said, well, people are asking her the question, why now? Why are we doing this now? She said, well, Sierra Leone has always been involved with the Caribbean.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but she said so. Okay, that's fine. And perhaps they have something they want to share. They want to spend some money here. That's fine. And we want to explore some of their markets in Africa, because I think that's what Auburn Hill, he's the Minister for Trade and Investments in Jamaica. He said that there were opportunities that Prime Minister Andrew Holness, was trying to explore with regard to tourism, and trying to get some of the tourists from Africa to come over to the Caribbean, and exploring some of these linkages with that, which is very good. I think that's very good. Andrew Holness is one of the premier statesmen in the Caribbean. I think he's an upstanding gentleman, and I think he has his eye on the ball, and I think he's really leading Jamaica, in a fine manner. What you think, Kim? He's a pretty decent guy, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I admire a good few of the cabinet members, Nigel Clark being one of them, Auburn Hill is one of them, even their tourism minister. He has done a really good job in, the change that they want to see in how business is conducted in Jamaica.
Yes,
so I think Congress has a really good team there. And I didn't hear much from Auburn Hill today. I mean, the conference ended a short time ago.
Yeah.
But you heard more, from the African side of visiting partners. So they're saying they're on both sides of the Atlantic, and the commonalities that they've been the most exploited areas in the world, Africa and the Caribbean. Yeah. And it's time that they overcome the obstacles in the past and really link up through their strong heritage in the region. So they say beyond, I think what they were championing is the link for agriculture, because they were touting their land. They've got rich minerals, I think they had started something called the National Investment Board, so that they were looking at working with that through the African Continent Free Trade Area. They were promoting that as well. So it was interesting to hear all of the areas. Yeah. One area that struck my interest is that they are rich in producing rice. And here in the Caribbean, rice accounts for at least how much? 6% of our import bill here in the CARICOM.
Wow.
So if we were to really, work with that, what is our barrier, I think, is the transport issue. We've got that issue of air and sea transport, and it's working that out. He mentioned something, I'm not sure if he understood the extent of what he was saying, but he spoke about they have a fisheries sector, because obviously they're on the west coast of Africa, and there's a lot of pirates in the area.
Yeah.
I mean, if that I think that has probably been our issue, security. Crossing the Atlantic, you don't want to put yourself at risk of, being hijacked by pirates. So what can be done there?
Yeah, yeah. Pirates of West Africa. Yep. You thought it was only Eastern African situation, right? Or problem, but pirates are all around the African coast, you know, and that's just the nature and the nature of trying to do business there, But at the end of the day, will it be lucrative for everybody involved? That's my situation, Kim. Will it be lucrative? It's good to talk and it's good to have a good talk and blah, 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 right? But do they have the actual money? Can they actually stick through with it if they were to go through with this? If it's not just a pie in the sky dream. And that's going to be the situation because, if you look at Africa, Africa really hasn't been helping Africa. They still have some basket cases in Africa. So
there's a Caribbean. I mean, if you were to look at every continent, we have our issues. Caribbean has its own issues here. We have in Thailand transport issues. You're hearing people having to take a plane all the way up to Miami just to go next door.
Yeah. I'm still doing that now, actually. I have to go to I told you last time we went to Barbados, I had to travel to Miami to go to Barbados, and I had to travel back to Miami to go back home to the Bahamas.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
And that means you have to have a US visa. So how much more difficult and expensive that is for our own people,
Indeed.
An interesting point, what the Assistant Secretary General of I think CARICOM Trade, Wayne McCook, said he described it as being complementarity. We're speaking so well about each other. We for each other. We comparing each other, and that word he said really struck out because that is what is being happening. What is happening there? I mean, it's nice to talk, as you say, and that's what it is. But it's about time. But we have a lot of similarity. I mean, everyone's looking at the cultural industry these days, and we've got the biggest hit, the biggest thing coming out from Nigeria is Burna Boy. Everyone is jumping on Burna Boy. He's all over the world. He's all over touring, and that goes on the Afro beats. Segment of music on the musical spectrum. And in the Caribbean, we've got the soca beats, and even the soca beats have been marrying the Afro beats in order to gravitate that world music vibe that you see that has been trending globally. That's why you see Cass joining up with the Haitian guy. That's why you're seeing Marshall hooking up with all these other artists around the world. That global music sound. And I think if Africa and Caribbean were to really come together in their cultural similarities, they can go places. So, and if they were to teach one of the guys, I think he's the Siddiqui Way, he's the General Secretary of the Economic Community for the Western African states, I think. He mentioned the Burna Boy thing, and he was saying, if these guys were to come together and really put their talent with the others, everyone has a different sound. Every African country has a different, unique sound. Same with the Caribbean. The music you're going to hear from Bahamas, Jamaica, Trinidad, St. Vincent, Barbados, it's different. We have calypso, yes, we have reggae. But when we merge it, when you listen to it, it's different. So I think we are to stand on our own strengths, but marry it and combine with our African brothers, and we can be a cultural solution to the world.
I can't believe you're more Black conscious than I am.
Oh my goodness.
That's amazing. You're more Black conscious than I am. But here's the thing. I think Cass and Burna Boy could do a killer song if they really come together. You don't think so?
Yeah, no doubt.
I'll be the first person lying on the head every day. If Cass and Burna Boy could come together.
But just so different from Burna Boy,
Yeah, I know. It's a different sound, but that's what makes it good. When you match the music together, you can have a unique sound. But at the end of the day, like I always say, if they're going to make it work, let's have fun doing it too. Let's marry the culture, let's marry the investment, let's marry the agriculture, let's marry the tourists. Let's get it all together, man. Like I say, my video is just freezing, man. I'm just freezing everywhere I go. But that's why I have to keep the focus on Kim, the beautiful Kim Kimberly, because
Oh
Michael
my.
is freezing. Yeah.
Um,
So, yeah. So
yeah, we do have
at the
a
end
lot
of
of things there. I mean, if we look at the way the world is going, especially after the few years of the pandemic we've had, and now
Mm,
this whole issue with Russia, Ukraine, where the supply of flour and wheat and fertilizer is affecting us in the Caribbean, we really need to look at other markets. And I think that's what Miyamo Motley was looking at, and even Jamaica. And Africa realizes that. I mean, we came together when we couldn't get vaccines, right?
mhm,
For us to get vaccines, they told us we had to go through the African Pacific states.
mm,
And I think some of the vaccines, there were some being shared there. So it's a matter of looking at our external markets.
mhm.
And because we can't look to the north always, there's got to be some south-south or west and east to west relations there.
Yeah, indeed, indeed, indeed.
If we are to survive in this world,
Yeah,
go outside the US currency as well. That's what I'm thinking about.
yeah. You know something? A former U.S. Secretary of State said back in the 1950s that the entire Latin America and Caribbean could just fall off the face of the map, and the United States wouldn't miss it at all. You know,
Yeah.
so
I mean, we
forget
are
the
bigger.
bananas.
Why have we, over the years, why have we been rendered helpless to the north?
Mm,
You know, when we're so much stronger at the base here
yeah,
and so
yeah.
much to go for.
We always think that America's better. America and Europe is better. The Caucasian man is better. That's the general thought. Sad to say, but that's what most of us think.
And they're not really thinking about us. They're thinking about what they can gain.
Exactly.
It's about time we start looking at what we can get here.
Yeah. But most people in the region, they don't have that mentality, Kim. And you know that. Everyone wants to party and they want to lime vibe with us. They don't want to actually do anything that's going to cause any significant amount of work.
It's changing. It's changing.
I
I
hope
mean,
so. I hope so.
we have a younger population that, they're seeing globalization, they're seeing things we might take them for granted.
Yeah.
But they want to see a change in the way things happen. The way
Yeah.
our globe is going. I mean, in order for them to survive, they're doing it through social media and finding new avenues.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
do we. We have to give them a fighting chance in that sense too, I think.
Yeah. I agree.
Through culture, the music, the arts, and food security.
Yeah. Speaking of the arts, though, I heard that when Burna Boy was in the Dominica, was it right? It was last year sometime. He was in Dominica and he charged $500,000 a show.
Yeah.
$500,000
But that's
US.
his basic. That's his
Yeah, it's
basic.
basic.
Trinidad held him twice. We had him twice.
Really?
Yeah. So we had him in Tobago for Tobago's Carnival. That was their inaugural standalone carnival in October. And I think he came sometime in Christmas. I think so. Yeah.
He charged you guys more?
Trinidad. But there was this whole controversy with him performing in Trinidad. I think that a Barbados promoter decided to grab hold of him, and they booted out a local promoter. And so I think that has gone to the courts. Something
Okay.
like that. But I think the average cost, his basic cost is $500,000 US
Wow.
just
The
for
African
booking.
giant.
And then you've got to take care of his amenities and what have you.
The African giant, he's killing his brothers and sisters, Kim. Why couldn't he perform for free?
Money.
It's all about the money, right? I know. It's all about the money. Burna Boy, we'd like for you to come to the Bahamas at least once. We love you here too. I love with the one.
Oh, wait, he's still wondering what's going on. That fire festival y'all had some years ago. He's
Oh
from
yeah, that's flop. Oh Jesus. Oh man, what a fiasco that was. That same guy, that same McFarlane guy, Billy McFarlane, he had the nerve to come back to the Bahamas after that. He was back in the Bahamas last year in the summer, and he wanted to apologize to the Bahamian government for trying to pull it up, and he wanted to do something else again in Exuma again. He's a sociopath. He had to be out of his mind.
That was a total wreck. I mean, you saw people getting basic bread and cheese and styrofoam boxes and these tippy tents. It's like people paid thousands of dollars for that, and thinking they're going to see Taylor Swift and names like that, and no one showed up. There was nothing.
Yeah, nothing. No, it's such an embarrassment for the country, because everyone, it was so hyped, and it got to all these influencers that shared it on their social media pages and their social media accounts, and then the world became to know about it, and that's how it blew up. And then to have it flop like that, he embarrasses country significantly, man. And for him to come back here and try to promote another event and then to apologize, this glib apology to the Bahamian officials was just an insult, man. And I think our deputy prime minister, he put out a notice on him that he's not welcome here in the Bahamas at all. So
That's
Mr. McFarlane, had to leave the country if he was here.
That's one good thing they did.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a crazy word. And people like him, they're sociopaths, Kim. They are sociopaths. They don't care about people's feelings. They don't care how they look. They just go about doing things off the top of their head because they could. And they have no feelings inside whatsoever. He could not see that was wrong.
It's
He could
greed.
not see that was wrong. He should not do that. And that's what's scary about it.
This week also, we have, I mean, there's a lot of things happening in the Caribbean, but I mean, it goes to show what's happening, the Americas culture, and they feel they can get away with it. Look, just last year, what you all had with the guy and the cryptocurrency.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You all really have it bad.
Yeah, we invite
America.
any kind of scam artist here in the country. Anybody with a good scam would come to the Bahamas, and that's unfortunate, isn't it? Right? But
It-
I felt as if he came here for that company to fold up. I mean, from what I've been seeing, that company was on the edge from before he actually landed the Bahamas back in 2021.
Yeah.
And he left Hong Kong because he was on the ropes, and he
Yep.
came here for that company to fold up. As sad as that sound, he used the Bahamas.
Yes. And I think it speaks to, how they feel they can get away with banking and financial laws. Okay, it's easy there. We can just pass the money through and be over with
Yeah.
it. No one
Bro.
has to do a thing.
Yeah, indeed. Now he's facing hundreds of years inside the United States, man, for losing billions of dollars. I don't think see, as another sociopath, he does not understand what he did. He thinks, oh no, it's just money. Oh, forgive me, slap on the wrist, ha 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 ha. Let me off. I can get off of this. He doesn't realize what he's done. And I don't know what's happening with this younger generation. I'm speaking as if I'm this old guy, right? But these younger people, they don't understand that these things have consequences. You've actually destroyed people's lives. You've ruined their lives by taking their money and losing their money. A lot of people were hurt.
I mean, we're seeing a lot of that fraud. If we thought what had happened in 2009, if that would have taught them anything, the global financial crisis that resulted from that
All
record.
out greed.
Yeah.
All out greed. Yeah. Subprime greed.
And from that, we see this girl, Elizabeth, what's her name?
Elizabeth Holmes.
Yeah, Elizabeth Holmes, who
Theranos.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You want to know if they are aware of what they've done,
No, I don't think they are. And you want to hear something about Holmes too, with Theranos. They said that she actually changed her voice so she could sound more like a man, so she could be more convincing.
Yes, I heard that.
Yeah, now that's a psychopath there. She's a psychopath, man. She just willingly was scamming her way straight through life. And she's a bright woman, She didn't need to.
Yeah,
She's
she did
intelligent.
not need to. I don't know, they see money and they want to get, a lot of money quickly. They get a taste of it, and
Yeah,
that's how scandals happen. That's how what caused, greed. Greed is the trigger of everything. Yeah.
But I think with her too, I think her boyfriend at the time, her fiance, this Sunny Balwani, the Indian fella she was dating at the time, I think he was the real power behind her throne with all the financial investments and whatnot, telling them what to do with the money. Barring that, her actual invention didn't actually work. Set that aside. I think the Balwani gentleman was the one who was, getting her to put the money here and do this and do that and try to misappropriate the funds. And so that's what you have when you have older people dealing with younger people like that. You have to be careful what your relationships are, Kim. You have to be very careful with your relationships, man. At the end of the day, she's going to face a lot of time as well because people aren't happy with what she's done with her company. The FTX gentleman, Sam Bankman-Fried, is going to face a lot of time. And Seth MacFarlane, he faced some time, but he got off. You know, he did a bit. It's funny here with Sam Bankman-Fried. He spent 2 nights in a Bahamian jail and couldn't take it.
Yeah, he looked like
he thought he could have sat down in a Bahamian jail in Fox Hill Prison, in Her Majesty's Prison, the Bahamas Department of Correctional Facilities. He thought he could have sat down and do a bit inside Fox Hill Prison. He's out of his mind. He was there for 2 nights. He said, "Get me the hell. I prefer to face my charges in the United States." Yeah, you should. You could be in a nice, cushy federal prison instead of being in Fox Hill Prison. We call that Fox Hell Prison, man. They've tried to rename that thing, the Bahamas Department of Correctional Services.
Yes.
It's still Fox Hell Prison. It's Fox Hell Prison for a reason. Yeah. My goodness, man. He's so divorced from reality. That's prison. That is prison. That's not like, yeah, that's prison. That is jail. That is prison.
They expect to have a cushioned life. I think the correctional facilities in the US is much cozier and comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably that is what he was expecting, you know?
Yeah. And they use these euphemisms, right? The correctional facility. No, it's a prison. It's a jail. It's a prison.
People don't use that word anymore. You don't hear jailhouse anymore. You're going to the big house, jailhouse.
The whole world is getting sissified, Kim. The whole world is getting sissified. Like everything is in a softer tone, you know. You know, instead of he died or he passed away. I think search George Carlin. The comedian George Carlin, you would see his bit on euphemism. You would see exactly what we're talking about. It's funny too. George Carlin on euphemism. And you would see exactly how funny that is. Man, that is hilarious. You know, instead of saying he died, he passed away, you know. And instead of saying you have depression, you're broke. You are broke. You know, call it properly, you're broke. But anyway, that's my one rant for the night, my offhand rant for the night. So we talked about boats, and we talked about you know, a bit about the bill inside Trinidad. We started off with that actually. But I think we want to talk about the U.S. State of the Union address, right, from President Biden, right?
Yeah, I know it focused quite heavily on the economic policies.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's still early in the Biden term. It's still early in the Biden term, and he's still, you know, pushing his bipartisanship that he won on, you know, in 2020. But it's the first time he's making the State of Union address in front of a Republican-controlled House, I believe.
Yes.
So you were getting the heckling from some of them.
Yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's all over the news today.
Kevin McCarthy in the background having to shush his students, shush his people, tell them, okay, shh, you know. You saw that. That was kind of like, okay, is it kindergartners you're dealing with, you know?
Yeah. I don't like to see that, you know, Kim. I don't like to see that because you should have some respect for the house that you sit in, you know. And she has no respect for the house. I think you should have a solemn and a sober look at what President Biden had to say.
You even saw Santos there too, and I saw Santos take a dib at Romney. Yeah, you know,
Santos congressman.
Those individuals from the Republican Party should not have even been allowed. I mean, or have them at the backbench or something like that, where it can be easily curtailed. That behavior is not allowed, right? Disrupt the speech. But I think Biden handled it well, and he continued to speak that bridging the gap, you know, between the two parties. And I know, as I said, he's, you know, they called him all sorts of names. He says, I think he passed $1.2 trillion infrastructure, bipartisan and infrastructure law that will see, you know, passed $1.2 trillion infrastructure, bipartisan and infrastructure law that will see, you know, pass $1.2 trillion infrastructure, bipartisan and infrastructure law that will see, you know, pass $1.2 trillion infrastructure, bipartisan and infrastructure law that will see, you know, pass $1.2 trillion infrastructure, bipartisan and infrastructure law that will see, you know, pass $1.2 trillion infrastructure, bipartisan and infrastructure law that will see, you know, pass $1.2 trillion infrastructure, bipartisan and infrastructure law that will see, you know, pass $1.2 trillion infrastructure.
Hi, Kim, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I
Oh,
think I was getting a feedback and it was sounding like we were on a loop.
oh I had the YouTube up at the same time. Sorry about that. See, we're still getting used to this, people. So forgive us. We're still getting used to this. I have to do this all myself. So bear with us. You know, glitchy camera and going back and forth with all of this stuff. So forgive us.
We're going
Yeah.
to get a production assistant to help us soon enough.
Yeah, that's in the budget for next fiscal year. We're gonna get a production assistant. Yeah, you know, for the LimeVibe podcast.
Yeah. So I mean, what was the last thing? I know we were talking about the bill that he passed, and I think he got like $1.2 trillion. I was talking about
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So he promised to be the president of both sides of the aisle.
Well,
So
they all said, you know, Kim.
yeah, I mean, but keeping it, you're seeing more. I mean, with the controlled house now being Republican, just how far he's going to get to implement the policies that he wants to put in place.
Hmm.
I think what was interesting too, I think he had special guests. He had Terry Nichols' parents invited.
Yeah.
That was a nice touch for the State of the Union.
I agree.
He did not mention too much about the Chinese balloon though, but he said, I think he spoke something that they remain a sovereign state and they will continue to protect the state.
Yeah, some veiled threats to watch China.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it. He said nothing about Latin America and the Caribbean though. I
No.
noticed that.
Well, it's a State of Union address. It deals with all his 50 states, how many states in the America there is. So that's what it's about, inspiring the people and keeping the momentum and showing what they're going to do as the new year starts.
Yeah. And a strong American economy means a strong Caribbean economy. Because once people can start traveling and start spending their money, that's best for all of us.
Because I didn't get to hear what he had to say with the Federal Reserves and their policies, because the Federal Reserves does affect how we gauge our repo rates and things like that here in the Caribbean. So we have to keep a close eye on what they're going to do with their debt and how they balance those rates. That's something to keep an eye on, because our central banks here in the Caribbean, they focus on those things because it affects all lending rates and things like that. So yes, we're all in tune with the State of the Union. You might think it's American affairs, but there are things that does affect us here in the region.
Yes. It is a trickle down effect. It is a ripple effect. We have a saying here in the Bahamas: once America sneezes, the Bahamas catches a cold.
Catches a cold. Yeah.
So anything they do is going to affect us.
We have the saying, if your neighbor's house is on fire, you've got to wet your own. And what has happened in Venezuela, that saying has been, quite popular in recent years. With what's happened in Venezuela, we've had to, wet our own, because it comes across. It affects your neighboring countries.
Yes, indeed.
And America is the powerhouse in the Western Hemisphere, and it does affect us here in the Caribbean and Latin America.
The powerhouse in the world, actually. It's still the world's only superpower. I love America. Many of the places we live, other than the Bahamas, it would be America. It'd be right there in Miami, Florida. I love Miami. People talk bad about Miami. Oh, it's run down and dirty. No, Miami's a beautiful city, man. Miami's a beautiful city. Of course, you have some other cities on the West Coast, like San Diego. That's beautiful as well. But I live right there in Miami, Florida. Where all the Jamaicans and all the Barbadians.
The Caribbean people there, you can get your double.
She's like home.
New York.
I love the Cubans, I love the Cubans. They may feel funny, but I love the Cubans, man. I love the Cubans. They are my family. They're my friends, man. I love the way they love baseball. I love the way they have their you ever went to a Cuban party before? They have fun. They're like you guys in Trinidad. When they have a party, The music is loud and the families, everyone's happy and family, and everyone's laughing and happy and dancing. Yeah, man. It's a real line with the Cubans, man. And the food is awesome, man. They cook up a spread. I had a college mate of mine. He was dating this Cuban girl, and she would take us. One day, she took us to our family. I think it was Thanksgiving, and they had everything lined up, man. I mean, it was beautiful, Kim, beautiful, and such beautiful, warm people. And so I don't know why we think that they're racist. They're not. They're beautiful people. The Cubans.
In Trinidad, we have a lot of the Cuban doctors and nurses. They've been
Mm.
quite friendly, and I actually
Yeah,
prefer
man.
to when I go to the hospital and clinic. You know, they take
They're
care of
humble
you.
people.
Yeah,
They're humble people, man.
they're warm, they listen. Just the language barrier. I think Trinidad needs to ensure that Spanish is taught from a young age, at least, you know, from preschool. So you grasp that, you know, because we're surrounded by them, especially now with our migrant situation. So you need to be bilingual here in Trinidad, at least.
Venezuela, yeah. But you know what they say about English speakers? Once they need to learn to speak English. You know, English speakers are very arrogant, right?
You think, yeah,
You know, learn
well,
how
Queen's language, you know, we call it the
yeah.
Queen's language. Take pride
You
in
speak. You know, you need to do business with us. We need nothing from you. You need something from us. English speakers are very arrogant, very arrogant. And they say English is the hardest language to learn because it has so much
I
like
think Dutch is the hardest. I've
Dutch.
seen, yeah, they've got words with like 4 different meanings, 5 different meanings.
Hmm.
So their grammar is more complicated, they say. At
Dutch, you
least
say.
my friends who are Dutch, they've said that learning Dutch, even as a child, is difficult to you know, the grammatical structure of the language is different and difficult with the tenses and the verbs as compared to English.
Okay, okay.
Spanish is easy. You just have to remember the vocabulary and you know how to add it. It's not what conjugating the verb. I learned that, you know, in Spanish. That's your normal secondary school Spanish. You know how to make it you add the ing, like how we have going, and you know, making
Yeah.
it a verb, making it an adjective. It's basic things like that. So I can't understand it. I can't speak it as fluent as probably I once was able to, but I can understand because if I hear it, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah. But they say once you understand the root Latin, you could pick up French and Spanish and Italian and a bit of Portuguese as well. Yeah, once you understand the root Latin. Not so much the Germanic languages when you go up northern Europe, like Germany and like you said, Dutch and Norwegians. But
Yeah.
yeah, you could pick up once you pick up the basic Latin, you can speak
Okay.
Spanish and French. You could learn it better. So learn Latin, Kim. Did you learn Latin in high school?
No, we did not have Latin. My dad did a bit of Latin, so he might
Okay.
have a better understanding of it. Latin was discontinued from some years ago.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Not done somewhere. Some schools probably teach it just, you know, extracurricular, but it's not mandatory as it was once was.
Okay.
I think
It
it
was a
Latin was something with GCE. So
it was a generation before me that actually learned Latin.
yeah.
Just as soon as they got to my generation, they stopped.
Yeah. I think with carbon examination, CXC came in, I think they discontinued that. So the English would have encouraged learning Latin.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. So, Kim, you talk about boats. You talk about Biden. And what he didn't say about the Caribbean. We talked about, you know, the prison officers getting guns in Trinidad, the marathon Senate session. Was it a lot of grandstanding that night, or was it a substantive debate?
I think it was a substantive debate. I listened to it, most of it. At one point in time, you get sleepy. By 6 p by actually between 4 and 6 p.m. you need a little. They usually take a little break. Like they came back, but to continue on, you know, you're seeing everybody with their blankets in the house. It's cold. Everybody wants to go home if they're hungry, you know. So, but the debate was all sides, the independents, the opposition, and the government. They would have stated their case. They would have, you know, trashed it out as best as possible. They passed it, but I think they have some additional things to amend in the bill, and they will bring it back to the House later on.
Okay. But you think it's going to pass?
Probably need to be trashed out a little more further and explained a little more thoroughly in the bill.
You think it's going to pass?
It passed already, but
okay. Oh, it passed.
We'll have to add further amendments to clarify certain things.
Okay. But how do you feel about the prospects of more guns in the streets, though, even though it's going to be in the hands of law enforcement?
Well, this is what a bill would have encompassed. They want your significant other to sign on so that they're aware of you having a gun and hold this gun. And the reason for that is because of domestic violence happening, and you don't want the guns coming and you getting in the wrong hands. There's a policy here, I believe, is like once you're leaving or going anywhere, you have a gun, you have to surrender it to the police. The police keep that, and that's if you're a license holder. And I think that's one of the checks and balances we have in place. But they wanted to ensure that the prisons officers were able to protect themselves. And I think we needed that. They, as you said, they aren't considered part of the defense force, but they are, in fact, part of our front line here in Trinidad, law enforcement. They're part of the law enforcement. So due consideration should be given to them.
Yeah. I agree. Because at any given point in time, they could run into those same criminals that they, were overseeing when they were in prison. They were out now.
Yeah.
And, they could be accosted and killed, as sad as that is.
I mean, in 2021, we had a few deaths, and there was a list circulating to the media. As being part of the media, I got the list one night, and it had a list of names of prisons officers. One of my relatives was actually one of the names listed, and his address and contact number. And that's scary. So they can visit your home and they may shoot someone. It may not necessarily be the officer themselves.
Yeah.
It could be a relative.
Yeah. And everybody's at risk. So the prison officer is going to get a chance to shoot back, huh?
But I think they're going to ensure they call for a psychometric evaluation for the officers before they are granted these firearms. So that's another thing. And before an extension could be granted, they're looking at them going through evaluation and things like that. So all of those things were looked at in the bill, but there are other areas that they want to trash out. One of the senators said, if you're doing it this way, it's just going to be a quick fix, but it's you need to go through the relevant stakeholders. We have to get a response from the Prisons Officers Association to hear what they think about this move. So I guess that response will come about tomorrow, because it's still early. It only happened a few hours ago, just under 12 hours.
Okay. Okay, there we go. We're coming up. That's it. It's 2 minutes to 9:30. So, like we said, we're only going to be for an hour now. We're trying to go for 2 hours. It's only going to be for an hour. So, once again, I am your host, Rory Kemp, with the beautiful Kimberly Ron-Calawan. And we're going to sign off to you tonight from LimeVibe Podcast. Once again, we apologize for the cheap video of this Zoom situation. We're going to have that shown up the next time we come back on Friday. And so bear with us, please. Thank you so much. Have a good night. Bye.
Night.